17031 Whopper. We'll call him the Southern Group. Eastern Group is 50 east of Whopper. Eastern Group now turning Cold Angel. Understand, cleared to kill. Leader, past the line now. Cleared kill, cleared kill.
По курсу до цели полсотни 3. Выше 3. Понял. По фронту между целью 2 километра.
Одна слева, одна справа, 209.
Пошли направо, 39. Наблюдаю, работаю по ней. Десятку наблюдаешь? Нет. Понял. Находится справа. Иду за паром второй. Уходите влево, 728. Вот там второй за нами. Работаю по верхнему. Давай, выхожу вправо. Понял. Вот там второй за нами, давай. Огонь, огонь! Понял.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and how are we going? Welcome to SATAC 2022 as we see the face-off between FTQ and ETF. These two teams are going to face head-to-head in some of the best action you're going to get in DCS today. Now, while we're waiting for things to get going, first things first, we need to figure out where our combatants are going to be fighting today. There are 18 different maps where they can go, and all we have to do is press the stop button. And it's number one. We are looking at Sochi versus Mozdok, late afternoon, like cloud. We'll give them time to get the server running, and in the meantime, we will introduce ourselves to each other and get our intros out of the way. I'm very excited for this match here. So we're looking forward to seeing FTQ get stuck in again after a difficult first match they had against the Alamo Aggressors. I had the pleasure of casting that, and it was phenomenal. Loved watching that flash, and they fought hard. They're the newcomers to this, so hopefully they can make a bit of an impact on the match to come. While we're waiting for things to get set up, important to see how the results are going so far in Groups A and B. We have ETF, Alamo, and FTQ. ETF and Alamo with 1 win each. And 51st and the 343rd. 51st with 1 win, and 343rd, no win so far. But it's still anyone's match. Looking forward to seeing what FTQ can bring here. And for Groups C and D, we have TMC, SPQR, and RS all with a win, and RS and TMC with 1 loss each. And we have Group D with PTF, InSky, and Wolfpack. InSky with 2 wins, and PTF and Wolfpack yet to pick up a win. So we'll see how that goes. A reminder that SATAC is brought to you by Heatblur, Eagle Dynamics, Magnitude 3, Deca Ironworks, Razbam, TacView, and Lot ATC. You'll see some of their products on display today. Now, to give you an idea of the entirety of the group stages, here's everyone that we have involved in SATAC. With that being said, I think GTAC may have pulled out. We shall see if we can get an updated version of this in the future. I'm looking forward to... I was hoping that we would get one of the earlier numbers for the fight, so we get a bit of open sky, so we can see the fight that's happening. Definitely looking forward to it. Now, the other thing that we have to do is... do the coin flip to see who gets to pick which side they start on. And I've just spoken to someone from FTQ. Chesty picks heads. So we'll do a coin flip. Coin flip. And we'll go to this screen and flip. And it is heads. All right. So that means that FTQ is going to be picking which side they choose to start on. While we get the map all set up. So are you guys excited? Are you following any of the members of FTQ or ETF? Have you got any hunches about what we might get to see today? Have you got any idea of the conflict that you've got coming up in front of you? Now, thank you very much for the follows. Marcus, and Pancreas Princess, and Ekman Jones. Weather will be key. Lots of C-fits when it's nasty. Well, it is light cloud in the middle of the day. We practice with FTQ a lot, says Alpha Gator. They might surprise some people today. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for the follows, Ekman Jones and Rum Runner. Okie dokie. What are we looking at here? All right. And I think that we are where we need to be. So let's get into game and get a look at what's going on. You can't comment since you're on ETF. Mum's the word. So, some of the limitations of SATAC to be explained: a maximum of 4 Fox 4 missiles. Fox 4. That's a Freudian slip. Fox 3 missiles. So self-guiding, radar-guided missiles. A maximum of 4. Works out well in favour of the JF-17s, because that's as many as they can bring. ETF coming along in their JF-17s with some beautiful skins on them today. Looking absolutely gorgeous. looks like we might have some state flags and country flags, correction, on these. I always get this, what is this, Chile versus the flag of Texas. Always cheering ET off. Your partner flies with them. Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, what gorgeous skins they have. Oh, and there we have a flag of California. Jammers today. Looks like we've got, yeah, fuel and jammers. Looks like everyone's bringing a jammer, actually. Looking good, feeling good. I'm really excited to see what a full team of JF-17s can bring. How cool is it that these guys not only have team skins reporting each of their wins, but they also have personalized skins. Who is this we've got here? And FTQ is bringing along 4 times F-15s plus an F-14 and an F-16. So we'll have a quick look at the map as it stands while everything gets loaded in and looking good. We're looking at the same circle that we have had before, which is around about 75 nautical miles from tip to tip. Couldn't make it today, but I'm sure your boys will make you proud. Oh, they will, I'm sure. So, on FTQ's side, we have BMD in the F-16C, Cannibalistic Tomato in the F-14B, with, have they got the backseater of America? Yes. Same backseater as the first match. And we have Revenge, Bait, Chesty, and Venom in the F-15s for FTQ. Meanwhile, in all JF-17s for ETF, we have Electro Ball, Dizzy, Nate Dog, Dormouse, Aspen, and Breeze, all getting started and preparing their aircraft for conflict. Is this the new MT patch? Yes, it is. And the game is looking gorgeous and running well. Hopefully today's stream will keep up with the content. So we'll see how it's going. I can't get over these ETF skins. They look absolutely gorgeous. Oh, and they've even got their names on them. That's so cool. Well, that, at the very least, is going to make identifying each of them quite cool. Now, FTQ has come along with an aggressor camouflage style for the F-15s, particularly black and white, which I think also looks really good. It's very difficult not to like the splinter camouflages for each of these airframes. So, we'll have... Whoop, get a little bit excited with the voice there. Check that my real-time telemetry is working as expected, and it is. Let's have a look at the TAC view. So, this ought to be an area that all of us are quite familiar with. The hills of the Caucasus are looking ripe and ready for some aviation combat. With the northern side, rather the southern side, I always forget. I've lost my bearings, boys. With the southern side dominated by large hills and raised terrain, plenty of opportunities for you to hide yourself down there if you're preparing for a little bit of close-up and personal action, with the north particularly favouring a more BVR playstyle. It will depend on how they want to go. With the prevalence of F-15s in this match, I wouldn't be surprised if we see FTQ going for a little bit of long-range action. So we'll get down low here at the moment and have a look at what the terrain looks like. Of course, we have one of the large mountains of the Caucasus over there in the distance. It would be cool if we could get some fighting around there. And it's all looking pretty good. You don't think FTQ was preparing to see jammers? Well, I know that the jammers did catch them off guard a little bit in the first match, where they found that their AIM-120Cs struggled to a certain extent with being unable to loft in battle. So they felt themselves losing an element of range. So that may be a lesson that they're about to put into practice here, as we have the JF-17s of AETF progressing towards the runway, looking good on this morning. Now, I would agree with you, Alpha Gator, but we shall see, because the last match that we saw the boys from FTQ, they found themselves particularly caught off guard by enemy jamming when they were up against the Alamo aggressors. So, at the very least, it should be a fairly even playing field, with all of the aircraft, except for the F-16, having the ability to jam. So, it ought to be exciting to see what happens. Thanks for the Brian, ETF Riker. Exciting to see how the rest of it goes. And yes, of course, don't forget that Nuff Butter, I'll shout him out, will be casting the other match happening today, which is happening at exactly the same time. So you are absolutely spoiled for choice when it comes to aviation combat today. And if you watch one, make sure you check out the VOD for the other, because there will be plenty of action to catch. We see all of the ETF get ready and line up. We've got Nate Dogg just taking a little bit longer than the rest of his pals, but that's okay. We'll give him all the time he needs. Meanwhile, the boys for FTQ are preparing themselves on the runway. You see, even the F-16's bringing along a jamming pod. So it is looking like this will be a jam fight. So, a very, very standard loadout for the JF-17s, 4 SD-10s, 2 PL-52s, 2 fuel tanks, and a jamming pod. Looks like that's exactly what we're going to get across all of these airframes. For the F-15s, it looks like 4 AIM-120Cs, 2 AIM-9Ms, and 2 Sparrows, because if you've got the hard points, then you might as well take them. Let's see what the F-14 is taking. That'll be a curious one. So, the F-14 bringing 4 AIM-54s, 2 Sparrows, 2 AIM-9Ms, and a full tank of fuel, with America in the back seat. In the last match with FTQ, we definitely saw a little bit of a difficult time with the F-14 in encountering the jamming of Alamo aggressors, struggling to get any of its Phoenixes off the rails. So I'm sure that Cannibalistic Tomato and America are looking for blood. Exciting to see these guys get another chance and prove their mettle. FTQ, of course, participating in SATAC for the first time. Whereas Eclipse Task Force has been around since February of 2022, have competed in SATAL 2022. ETF has been around since February 2020, has competed in SATAL 2020, SATAL 2021, TACT 21, TACT 22, and GDHAG TV2. So a team with some match experience. These guys ought to have no unfamiliar feelings when it comes to the competitive stage. Looks like we have Nate Dogg, the last JF-17 for ETF, making his way towards the runway. Happily making his way. Of course, the JF-17s, you can see on the tail there, having the missile warning system, the MWS, which is a unique feature for this aircraft. That will potentially give them a little bit of warning. I'm sure they would be a bit more beneficial if you were dealing with something like Su-27s, and it would give you a bit of extra warning for those R-27ETs. Thank you, Ekman. Smooth is having to prove his mettle within the aviation combat sphere before he gets his own cool ETF skin. And why What better motivator could you possibly want? These skins are gorgeous. So, ETF looking all pretty and lined up. I think that ETF will be telling me any moment now that they are ready to go. FTQ leading with the F14 and F16, with the F15s coming up the rear. And no question about the lineup for ETF, as it's JF17s all the way through. It's a reward for dedication. You get a custom skin. Oh, what an excellent motivator. FTQ looking lined up, but not reporting ready just yet, so we'll give them a hot minute just to make sure that everything's running as expected. You don't want to pressure them too much into getting started, because there is plenty of time. Though some people I know get a little bit panicky about a little bit of fuel being burnt while waiting for start. I'm on the edge of my seat. I cannot wait to see how this is going to go. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, go, go. And there we have it. The team's getting started. ETF leading the way with all of their JF17s getting moving all at the same time, with 2 waiting up the rear. Here we have Dizzy and the rest of the boys all taking off. Beautiful formations. Let's go! Welcome to SATAC 2022. It's week 4 with ETF and FTQ taking to the skies with plenty to prove. Let's see how things are going on the other side of the battle space, as we see the boys from FTQ with a bit more of a conservative lineup. The F16 and F14 taking to the runway before their F15 brothers. I wouldn't be surprised if we see these groups separate up into multiple separate pairs. Dizzy is a girl. Ah, my apologies. I tend to use... You're exposing my biases here. Sorry about that, Riker. Wonderful. Okay, I'll do my best. And here we have ETF separating out into 2 distinct and separate groups. Rather, 3 distinct and separate groups. Let's have a quick look on the TAC view and see what that might look like. Okie dokie. So, we have two pairs of JF17s, Dormouse and Breeze, Electro Ball and Dizzy, separating with 2 individual JF17s following behind them. Interesting, interesting. So Nate Dogg and Aspen coming up behind for the cover. Meanwhile, on the FTQ side, as expected, it looks like the F15s are separating out into two pairs, with the F14 and the F16 operating on their own spectrum. With regards to the involvement of people of all different origins, I'm a massive advocate for all peoples to get involved into flight simulation. I believe that it is a wonderful hobby, and if we could get ourselves some representation across all different genders, sexualities, everyone. The skies are for everyone. So there is no need to feel any degree of exclusionary. And I'm glad to see that the representation of ET is being taken to the next level. Alrighty. So the JF-17s making their way. The northern group is heading at 26,000 feet and climbing. Southern group is at about 22,000 feet and climbing, with the trailing JF-17s between 10 and 12,000 feet. Meanwhile, the FTQ team heading up to 26 to 30,000 feet and climbing, with the F-16 taking the more conservative and lower route. Understandable, as the F-16 does tend to feel a little bit more comfortable lower down, and the F-15 does like to be a little bit higher up in the sky. Giving all of the energy that it can to these AIM-120s, they can reach out and touch you. I'm sure that they learnt some valuable lessons from their experience with Alamo. Wonderful. Alright. No one has entered the battle space just yet. How far away are we? We have ETF around about 30 nautical miles to 20 nautical miles, 25 nautical miles, and FTQ is hovering around about the 20 nautical mile mark. It looks like the northern group is going quite north. No doubt they have those jamming pods on, making sure that their altitude and distance is not immediately obvious. Before the action starts, this would be a perfect opportunity to go grab yourself a glass of water, go to the bathroom, because things are about to get hot. And when these matches get into full swing, you can really expect things to go fast. There we go. The JF-17's not supersonic, but I'd imagine that they want to be conservative with the burner, because these planes do not carry a massive internal fuel load, and those wing tanks will not last forever. So they'll want to keep the fuel for the engagement so that they can put a good amount of energy into those launches. Why is the ETF logo so small? Good question. There we go. Sorry about that. Not entirely sure why that was. Okie dokie. Yes, the JF-17s chug through fuel. An interesting thing that was pointed out to me by some of the competitors in a previous SATAC match was that actually, within the DCS space, the JF-17 actually has the smallest radar cross-section of any aircraft in the game. Makes sense, as it is one of the most modern designs. The F-15s are not yet supersonic, so they have got... well, rather, they've backed off being supersonic. They're prioritizing getting nice and high. Jeff is one of the most fuel-efficient jets? Oh, I see. We have Blue taking control of the battle space. Let's quickly check on the TAC view, just so we can get a bit of an idea of where everyone is. Cannibalistic Tomato and America are below the northern group of Venom and Chesty, with Bait and Revenge forming the southern group, with BMD trailing along behind. It also has a full fuel load of the F-14's bingo, that's true. Electro Bull and Dizzy are forming the southern group of JF-17s, comfortably chugging along, while Dormouse and Breeze are forming the northern group, with their trails of Nate Dog and Aspen following behind them. So, it looks like the battle area is now contested, with both teams having had entered the zone. A very neat entrance by the boys and girls in ETF, as they enter the battle space pretty much all at the same time. Comfortably sitting at around about 30,000 feet, a good altitude for the JF-17 to operate, I think. Gives you enough room to maneuver. They'll find themselves at an altitude disadvantage as they approach the space here, with the F-15s that are 85 nautical miles away at 43,000 feet. Right up there. A comfortable spot for the F-15 to be, and it has the fuel load keep it up there for some time. It might look like they're laying on the burner when they ought not to, but rest assured that the internal fuel load plus those massive, massive external tanks mean that the F-15 can stay up high forever and ever. ETF won SATAC last year, a very strong team. Oh, look, I'm excited to see. You can occasionally tell what the performance of different teams is going to be like, based on, well, guess, at the very least, by how their entrances and formation flying go. I know that Alamo Aggressors puts quite a lot of emphasis on things like formations, consider it to be a key skill, and with the closeness of the ETF team as they form very structured groups, it is looking a lot like they are in control of their airframes. I'm sure for all of these aircraft, their ECM is currently banging away. We'll have a quick look at the TAC view and see what speeds everyone is operating at. Now, we have the F-15s predictably going very fast and very high. Meanwhile, no supersonic performance yet for the JF-17s. The F-14B of Cannibalistic Tomato in America, beginning to turn south. They may well have picked up something on that AUG-9. And BMD is comfortably sitting by themselves as they progress down the center. I cannot wait to see what the plan is with these JF-17s that are trailing the pairs at slightly lower altitudes from the leading pairs. Perhaps they are attempting to hide in the shadow of the ECM of their buddies up the front. Venom and Chesty are progressing north in their F-15s in a tactical formation. I'm sure that they are receiving information from their F-14 plus the GCI saying where everything's going, and it looks like ETF is deciding to converge on the center of the battle. And we have a launch of some description. Oh, actually, it looks like we have tanks being dropped. Potentially. I saw something come off someone. Okay, forgive me, never mind. No launches yet. We've got an SD-10 out from Aspen, the first shot of the match. SD-10's very versatile and useful missiles. This SD-10 with a 30 nautical mile shot towards Venom at 40,000 feet. From 20,000 feet to 40,000 feet. Nothing short of a complete failure to maneuver may potentially cause this missile to miss, though we can see that it is losing speed quite enthusiastically. I'm not entirely sure if we'll see any impressive performance, but I'm sure that Aspen is enthusiastic about just letting him know that he's there. Very nifty fast buggers with great tracking. I hope that Venom is picking up some sort of RWR warning about this. 750 knots, which, unless you're flying straight towards it, won't do anything. In fact, I said it was launched towards Venom, but it looks like it may actually be going towards Chesty. I have the bad feeling that if Chesty doesn't maneuver, he may drive straight into this. Yeah, that's evaded. The missile's just completely out of power. Breeze launches another SD-10. 12 nautical miles against Chesty. It is lofted right up there. Chesty's going to have to evade hard from this one. We can see the contrails of Chesty just over there. Notching the missile. Looks like it has lost track. Oh, it's regained it. Okay, we've got AIM-120Cs from Venom and BMD launched against Breeze, who I'd imagine is countermeasuring enthusiastically after launching their own missile here. These AIM-120s not going anywhere just yet. SD-10s from Nate Dogg and Dizzy. It looks like we lost one of the JF-17s in the southern group, so we'll have to see what happened to that one in a second within TAC view. This missile has got some speed. And that's a good impact. One of the Southern Group F-15s is gone. These AIM-120Cs heading towards Breeze. Breeze is going cold. Not feeling the need for countermeasures just yet. We'll have a quick look on the TAC view, and so we see that what happened here was Electro Bull had an AIM-120C launch from bait, attempted to notch, and no dice. So that is the first kill going to FTQ with Electro Bull taking it. An SD-10 launched from Dormouse at relatively low altitude, heading towards BMD. Appears to be the most active missile we have at the moment, the F-16. Flying away. I don't see it, but it looks like the F-16's made a hasty escape. That missile will not have the power to follow it up. Another SD-10 from Breeze, lofted way, way, way up high, going towards Chesty, who has had plenty of missiles launched at them at this point. May well be aware, has launched an AIM-120C in response from a higher altitude down towards Breeze, who is going to be feeling the need to go cold again. This SD-10, has it got the range? It has been lofted pretty high. It's going to take some flying from Chesty to make sure that this doesn't connect, and he may not be flying hard enough. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh my god. That is stressful. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Look at that. Alright, we have the AIM-120C launched in response. I don't think it has a good track on anyone. We have an AIM-120C and an AIM-54 launched against Dizzy. And we have an SD-10 in response. Have we lost one of the F-15s we have? We saw that get shot down. Formation flying with an AMRAAM. I know. Another AIM-54 launch. I have no idea what that is tracking. This SD-10 appears to not have track on anyone within killing range. This AIM-120C is completely slow. Another AIM-120C from BMD, launched against the two pair of Dormouse and Breeze. Meanwhile, Dizzy, probably looking to make something happen down here. Don't think that AIM-120C. We have another launch. Very close range shots from BMD and Dizzy, straight back and forth towards each other. Is this SD-10 going to find its mark? Another incredibly close dodge, and it looks like the respondent AIM-120C connected will have a look on TAC view in just a second. Has this AIM-120C got the power to make anything happen? It does not appear as if it does. One of the F-15s, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. Alright, let's see what happened on the TAC view with regards to that exchange of fire. So here we go. We had Dizzy and BMD exchange shots. That SD-10 did not have the energy connect, but Dizzy, unfortunately, did not have the energy to get away from that one. Splash. Alright, what have we got going on in the sky? We have a Phoenix with no energy up there in the sky. Another SD-10 launch from Breeze against Cannibalistic Tomato and America in the F-14. They've only got one Phoenix left. I don't think any of those have managed to connect just yet. An AIM-120C launch from the northern group of F-15s against Aspen, who is now launching SD-10s in response. Is this SD-10 going to have the power that its brothers and sisters have not had so far? I don't think. That's going to be a close one. And it's lost to the ground. Bad luck. We've got two AIM-120Cs, one against Dormouse and Breeze, one against Aspen. This one against Aspen appears to be going at a rate of knots. But has Aspen got the ability to get away? I would say he does. They do. This SD-10 was going against Venom, which has been evaded. Phoenix with no energy? I know, it's an iconic pair. And the two teams have separated out for another moment here. Better be careful. 400 knots. Yep, that AIM-120C has had it. Alright, Aspen with a narrow dodge of that AIM-120C. Not as narrow as those SD-10 shots that we saw earlier, but never mind. Everyone's expended quite a few of their Foxes so far. And with no active missiles in the air, the final Phoenix launched from Cannibalistic Tomato and America is off the rails and heading towards the southern group. Potentially against Breeze. Where are we going? Yeah, it's looking like that's going to be going against Breeze. At that altitude, you'll want to drop down and be careful, as Nate Dogg earns themselves a AIM-120C launched from FTQ Revenge at co-altitude. So this one will have speed and energy. And Nate Dogg has decided to turn cold. Has that missile lost track? It has. Another AIM-120C from BMD, who can't have many left. In fact, that was their last one. This is the F-16 pilot. That AIM-54, unsurprisingly, out of energy and out of time. That AIM-120C from BMD heading towards Nate Dogg, who they have had enough of being in the southern airspace, but I do not think will have the energy with which to connect with Nate Dogg. With the group separating out, Breeze is the only one making a push at the moment, with one SD-10 left, attempting to gain some altitude for a high-altitude lofting shot. We'll see if this one comes off the rail. No launch just yet, but another AIM-120C coming out from Chesty, who only has one left after that shot against Breeze, who's being forced to turn cold, unsurprisingly. With a higher altitude AIM-120 coming towards you, you just can't afford to mess around with those missiles. And fired from a high altitude, Breeze is going to have to potentially go cold. We have an SD-10 launch from Aspen, and Revenge launches one in response. Aspen much lower altitude, 14 nautical miles, give or take a little bit. These two missiles will cross in the air. Oh, which one do we follow? It looks like the AIM-120C is heading towards Aspen, who is going low. And this SD-10, is it going to run out of energy again? Oh, is it going to happen again? No, you're not going to get that lucky twice. Meanwhile, Aspen is evading hard against the AIM-120C launch in response. Finally, a little bit of luck for the boys and girls in ETF. Alright. So, it is currently 4v4 with a lot of missiles expended at this time. Breeze heading south with their one AIM-120C left. BMD heading east with no Fox 3s left, potentially acting as bait in this situation. Cannibalistic Tomato with the F-14 with no Phoenixes left, but capable Sparrows, has earned themselves an SD-10 being launched against them. And that's going to be difficult to evade for the F-14 pair. And a Ballistic Tomato and America going to feel some G's, but it's not going to be enough. Bad luck. That is a losable situation, that's for sure. All right, so 2 more SD-10 launches with an AIM-120C launched in response. Dormouse and Chesty trading back and forth with another SD-10 launch against potentially Chesty or BMD. This is another one of those shots where it's all down to maths. Aspen launches an SD-10 potentially against BMD. Has this got any kind of track? That'll be difficult to evade. Yep, and there goes the F-16. And it looks like the 2 missiles launched from up high. Chesty's missile's gone dumb. The SD-10 against Chesty has lost track. Does not have the energy to connect. It's just about to go too slow. This AIM-120C from Venom launched against Breeze. We are seeing entirely different FTQ than we did against Alamo aggressors. FTQ here does not look lost. FTQ here does not look like they don't know what they're doing. FTQ here looks like they are fighting with everything they've got. Is this missile tracking anything? Yep. And the JF-17 pulls some shapes low to the ground. Manages to get away from that AIM-120C breeze. We have an AIM-120C at 3 nautical miles against Nate Dogg, but it's gone stupid and has hit the ground. Aspen, have you got any? No AMRAAMs left. What about you, Breeze? No AMRAAMs left. What about you, Nate Dogg? 1 AMRAAM left. What about you, Dormouse? 1 AMRAAM left. So we have 2 AMRAAMs throughout the entirety of ETF. We have Venom, who's down to Sparrows and Winders. We have Chesty, who's down to Sparrows and Winders. This battle has suddenly got very, very, very interesting. We have the JF-17 coming from low, the F-15 not with data link in order to give it better situational awareness. This is going to be a PL-52 shot from not very long range, no missile warning system. There we go, that's a kill. Ooh, that's exactly how you do that. One of these SD-10s still going. Victory for ETF. Oh, is Venom? Venom is in bad shape. I don't think there's much left to do here. There's something wrong with your radar. I think you might want to get that looked at the shop. But still launching missiles, unbelievably. What was that just came off the wing then? A AIM-9M appears to have no track against anything. Venom here, a wounded aircraft, but not going to go down without launching off the rest of that ordnance. Oh boy, this is tough to watch. Who's going to be the one to clean up on Venom? Oh, Venom has ejected. We are looking at a pilotless airframe here. That means ETF has just got to make it back home and to finish the job. The plane disappears. Missing something, yes, so wing and a pilot. 2 things that most aircraft do need. So, ETF is going to be returning back home. And assuming no disastrous landings, we can anticipate this match to fall into the hands of ETF. While we're waiting for everyone to get back home, let's have a quick look at what happened here. We, of course, have this from Aspen, a great demonstration of situational awareness and the value of the data link, as Venom is flying directly above and has absolutely no idea. Launches flares, but it's not going to help. AIM-7M launched from Chesty, who earns themselves an SD-10 from Nate Dogg, who lofts it up in the air and manages to score a hit. Great fighting by ETF, I agree. But that was not a done deal. In FTQ versus Alamo, I think we had a little bit of a situation where things felt a little bit one-sided, but this was not a one-sided match. This was as close as it gets, with both teams down to very, very limited munitions by the end of the conflict. Let's see if we can see that SD-10 that we had fly in formation with some of these airframes. And how are we look? Yeah, here we go. I think Chesty here has got to fire themselves a lottery ticket, because evading a missile like this is not something I think you can even pretend that you intended to do. That is extremely stressful. Goodness me. I cannot believe that that didn't hit. That was something else. Once again, the AIM-54s not necessarily demonstrating their value at lower altitudes. But interestingly, the aggression of FTQ bait really paying off in this first encounter, with Electro Ball realizing too late that this AIM-120C is on the way. And despite notching quite well and countermeasuring all the way through, not managing to get away from that missile. ST-10s, AIM-54s, everything launched on the edges of their envelope. You see, this is where high pressure and low pressure, high altitude and low altitude air becomes a concerning factor. Here we see, over here with Aspen, a technique that you will see sometimes where if you have a missile that's got the energy to catch up with you, the only really effective way that you have to bleed the power out is you have to start pulling shapes. And as that missile adjusts its trajectory to attempt to follow you, it does not have thrust. So, pulling left, pulling right, pulling left, pulling right. The missile is attempting to follow, and you can see that it's just losing energy as it attempts to catch up with Aspen and follow them in their turns. Cannot tell that it's getting jinked, it just goes for what it can go for. Another evasion from Nate Dogg, unconventional in the sense that you wouldn't want necessarily against a missile with speed to climb higher, but I think Nate was comfortable in the knowledge that that missile did not have the power to follow. Just look at the way that these missiles follow people. Look at this with Breeze. Just, how do you get away with that? How do you fly in formation with an AIM-120C right up your guts, and you're just like, yeah, I'm not stressed about this. Unbelievable. You can just see with every launch, these airframes are just operating within their limits. They know exactly what they're going. Good effort by BMD, by the way, who made quite a tangible impact. Yeah, here we go. This is the one that I was thinking about. The high altitude, low altitude, relatively co-altitude shot between these two aircraft. I wonder what it was that caused the SD-10 to not connect. I think the AIM-120C just inherited more speed. Yep. So what speed we had? Yeah, here you go. This is a lesson in speed inheritance. These two missiles launched at relatively similar altitudes with Dizzy and BMD, but BMD is going at 1.4 Mach, and Dizzy is going at 0.75, and that AIM-120C just gathers up all of the necessary power to connect. Let's have a look with our very, very close victors here. ETF still up in the sky with a match that they will probably come back to out of breath as they potentially were on the ropes there. Aspen still flying, not a single missile left, and probably very few countermeasures left too. Dormouse, nothing left except 2 PL-52s. Nate Dogg demonstrated missile evasion beautifully with 2 PL-52s and nothing else left. And Breeze with nothing else left. Though I think that some of them launched off their missiles once they cleared the zone. So, a hard-fought first match, but of course it's not over. Oh, we have one SD-10 that's been sent off. Freed now that its duty is done. We'll see where it goes. The SD-10, a very curious missile. I must admit that my understanding of the SD-10 at this point is probably based off outdated information that was likely adjusted a few patches ago, where I always considered the difference between the AIM-120C and the SD-10 to be that the SD-10 was slightly draggier and lost its speed faster but had better tracking, whereas the AIM-120C was a little bit sleeker but did not have the same level of INS guidance that the SD-10 has. However, I think that some patches have come out that have improved the INS guidance for the AIM-120C. We're reaching a stage of relative parity, though I think that the SD-10's power and thrust continues to be quite a good characteristic for the plane. One of the interesting things is the presence of these dual pylons for the SD-10s, which I'm sure is a topic of much resentment for the JF-17 pilots, because I've always imagined that these pylons, once empty and unjettisonable, tend to be somewhat of a pain to keep, as they are just great big legs sticking out there. But the JF-17s all coming back home. While we're waiting, we'll see what else we had happen in this match. BMD here, I think, got very lucky more than once. Some of the missile evasion here is just insane. Like, on what planet you evade a missile by that much? What is that? Had you done almost... Yeah, so at this point here, the missile is at 1.6 Mach, and you're at 1.3 Mach. And the missile is catching up, and that drag just slowed it down just enough for you to get away from it. You were microseconds away. Had you been doing anything other than turning cold and burning away at full speed, you would have been absolutely done for. I'm sure that one of the things that was difficult about the jamming in this scenario for ETF and for FTQ was the inability of the AIM-120Cs to loft in this scenario. As you see here, yeah, here's an example. Ideally, in launches like this, you'd want the AIM-120C to loft before beginning its terminal guidance. But with the ECM pods on the JF-17s, you're losing that extra bit of power from the AIM-120Cs. Now, I know that some of the Su-27 pilots in this scenario will pull the nose up 10 degrees before launching, to give their R-27ERs an extra kick in the guts to kind of manually loft the missiles. But it looks like FTQ is not necessarily jinking the nose up just a little bit so that they can impart a little bit of altitude and speed to that missile. Remains to be seen whether or not that actually would have made a difference. These AIM-54C Phoenixes in this low air at low altitude, they just are the size of buildings, and they lose speed like it's going out of style. Here we have the AIM-54C. Just look at it slow down, going from 1.3, 1.2, 1.1. It's basically dead at this point. Looks like PTF wins round 1 versus WP. Oh, fantastic. It's a close match. I obviously cannot keep up to date with what we've got going on Nuff Butter's stream, but I hope it's going well, with intense fighting happening all throughout. Is this the SD-10 that connects with Cannibalistic Tomato? You miss the days of the OP AIM-54. I think there are many F-14 pilots that miss some of the days worth of extremely, extremely powerful AIM-54s. I remember many, many team kills happening at that time. Yep. That SD-10 gone dumb against the ground clutter here. That's a narrow miss by the F-14. With the 94 nautical mile kill in a competition. Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Meanwhile, we have the JF-17s making their way downtown. Heading towards the airfield, no fancy flying for this one. I think these guys are all just heading back. See how things are going with Nuff. Riker. ETF has managed to take control of the battle zone and is heading into landing. There was some incredible, incredible missile shots happening throughout all of that. They're just preparing to close things up for the first match. I'd be interested in an Alamo versus FTQ now. Yes, after the, and let's not beat around the bush, after the whooping that they received from Alamo, it looks like FTQ have gone away and learned some very, very good lessons from the experience. They have come back unrecognizable in terms of the quality of their flying. They have just... They have been born again, and now showing that not only do they know the basics, they can pull some serious punches. You scrimmed with FTQ as they were practicing a lot? Well, whatever you've been feeding those boys and girls, you need to keep doing it. Okay, so... because that team is looking powerful. With the JF-17s coming in for a landing, it looks like ETF may well just be about to secure the win. Plenty of time with which to mess it up, though. SATAC is a competition between teams of high caliber within the DCS space, revolving around everyone demonstrating their abilities as pilots within the virtual aviation sphere. Looks like Dormouse is going to be the first one on the ground for ETF. Esports in a sense, yeah. Now, if there's one thing I love to see with the JF-17, it's that parachute come out. Give us the parachute. I want the parachute. Oh, you're not going to use it? Parachute's my favourite. Oh. They always deny me my parachute. Well, with Dormouse safe and sound on the ground, assuming they don't run completely off the end of the runway. Bouncy runway. A lot of that has to do with multiplayer as well. Sometimes it is exaggerated to an extent. Who have we got coming in next for ETF? Looks like Aspen's coming along. Boy, oh boy, good thing that thing didn't last too long, because you can see now it is dark outside. Gutted. Gutted. Well, your team's putting on a good show, Riker. And as we wait for ETF to come along and make a landing, keep a close eye. We had the parachute. Woo! Love the parachute. Okay. All right. Who have we got coming in next? We have Night Dog coming in for a landing. That looks like everyone for ETF is safe and sound. Didn't we have a fourth? Have we lost someone? What happened there? Why do I feel like we've lost someone? Okie dokie. I think Breeze might have pushed to the limits of their endurance as they decide not necessarily to land at the airfield and instead go and become one with the terrain of the lovely town Uvoroskoye. You told me? Oh, whoops, Alright, looks like we're heading up for a restart. While we're waiting for the server to restart, make sure you go get yourself a drink, and we will catch up in just a second. Be right back. Alright, welcome back everyone to round 2 of ETF versus FTQ. I would just like to take a quick moment to say thank you to everyone who has joined in today and spent a little bit of time with us watching this competition. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience to be able to put on a bit of a show for you. Appreciate all of the follows and subscriptions, of course, while the match is happening. I cannot recognize everyone for their wonderful contributions, but your support and viewership makes events like SATAC entirely possible, so please congratulate yourselves for being a part of this wonderful experience. We're getting ready for round 2 with ETF and FTQ arming themselves up for a little bit of aerial combat. After looking at these cool ETF skins, seeing a JF-17 in its neutral colors is almost disappointing. Poor old Electro Ball, the first one to go down for ETF in the last match, but will no doubt be enthusiastic to cause a little bit of trouble in round 2. We have Dizzy, who has done very well in the previous match, but didn't make it all the way back home. Nate Dogg. And this one has forgotten their name tag. Dormouse has got theirs, and looks like Breeze is already heading for the runway. Loving the stream, loving having you here. Alright, we'll have a look at the team on the other side. FTQ, we'll have a look at Revenge, and that's exactly what they're going to be feeling like doing here. Making sure that they don't go down without a fight. And if you were ETF, I would be feeling a little bit nervous because that didn't go down as easily as I think they might have wanted. The F-15s especially proving themselves to be quite capable in this bit of fighting that we had happening in the previous round. An entirely different FTQ preparing for round 2. No matter what the outcome is, I think we all need to say that FTQ has done a wonderful job of transforming themselves from their previous match versus Alamo, as they have come back renewed, reinvigorated, and ready to cause some serious trouble. How's the match going? Yes, this is round 2 with ETF taking round 1. They've done an excellent job of putting on a show here, and I think that everyone is enjoying themselves very much. ETF 162, yes, but I don't think that gives justice to just how close it all was, because that was pretty close. Alright, just let me check one or two things. How are we looking on the TAC view? Looking good. And how are we looking here? Looking good. Alright. So. They have the late afternoon to contend with as they fight throughout the battle space, as FTQ are preparing to make their way along the runway and taxi over to the combat area. Paul Riker doing all these custom skins. Well, apparently it's a reward for high performance and loyalty, and I should say that's a pretty good reward. FTQ with 4 F-15s, an F-14, and an F-16. All we'd need... In fact, if you think about it, we've got F-14, F-15, F-16, and then J, F-17. So we've got a royal flush of F models taking to the skies here at the moment. I reckon that ETF is probably already queuing up nicely on the runway. And as expected, the pros are showing us how it's done. Well, maybe. They appear to be getting into position. I wonder if they'll take a different starting lineup than they did last time. Because I'm not entirely sure if everything worked out exactly how they thought it was going to. We've got 5. Where's number 6? You really miss Riker being in this match. He's a major reason for ETF's dominance. Ooh. A well-deserved kappa received there. No, FTQ has not changed aircraft. They are in the same ones as before. FTQ is bringing 4 F-15s, 2 F-14s, and... no, 4 F-15s, 2... Let me give that one last try. 4 F-15s, 1 F-14, and 1 F-16. Oh my goodness. That's way too many letters to have in one sentence. You'll have to apologise, guys. I may be a fully grown adult, but I'm still learning to read and speak. So, we'll see how it goes. How am I going? I mean, take a guess. I get to watch some of the best aviation combat happening anywhere within the simulation space, live, and I control the camera. I couldn't be doing much better. No, I'm loving it. FTQ's reporting ready, and I'm sure that ETF will say the same in just 1 second. And there we go. Round 2 begins of SATAC. ETF versus FTQ, with all of the boys and girls of ETF taking off. Oh, that's a little bit squiggly for a startup. Probably caught a little bit of the jet wash there. Rough start, but that's okay. They'll be separating off into their separate teams as these guys and girls take off and head towards the battle space. I wonder if they'll be separating out into groups again like they were last time. Meanwhile, as before, the F-14 and F-16 lead the way. F-14 wants altitude and it'll get it. So, taking off enthusiastically. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Smooth. I hope you're having lots of good fun, because I know I am. The F-15's taking off as well. Leaving behind their home airfields. Hopefully, this time, they can come back and land with the sun setting at their backs. I don't think any of these two sides have a particular advantage in this scenario. So, it's balanced all the way through, but with that having had been said, having a look at the map, we do have the situation where the Western team does have better access to the mountainous terrain to the south, whereas the northern team does have good access to BVR country in the north. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they decide to take the F-15s up here, because it feels as if playing around in the mountains is not the territory that an F-15 wants to be. Not to say that it can't work there. And as expected, we have one of the groups of JF-17s, once again, having their trail in tow, heading towards the southern area. Not climbing enthusiastically fast. No one seems to be charging up to altitude, except for Cannibalistic Tomato and America, who have gone all the way up to 30,000 feet, and no doubt using that Org-9 radar to potentially get a little bit of a sneak peek at what's going on far, far away. Of course, that scope can go out to 100, 200 nautical miles, but whether or not you'll get any good returns off these JF-17s with their jammers on at that range, I doubt it. What do you think of Dick Insider? Ask your mum. Alright. So, we have a similar formation for both teams happening just like last time. The JF-17s forming a northern group and a southern group with a tail behind them. Now, I have a hunch that it didn't quite work how they planned it in the first match, because it felt as if ETF got kind of pincered right down the middle and potentially found themselves in a little bit of a tough spot, kind of all bunched up in one central area. Now, they did manage to claw themselves out of it, but it did feel a little bit like they were at altitude and positioning disadvantage that they had to fight their way out of. Now, with the benefit of having access to this southern terrain, I wonder if they'll use this block of air over here to form a staging area with which to attack northwards and use the benefits of the mountains to potentially prevent FTQ from launching those long-range AIM-120s towards them. We have Chesty at 43,000 feet, absolutely hauling at high altitude. Breeze's tail art representing the professionalism of ETF. Oh yes, absolutely. Sheesh. Looking good, feeling good. I just love these skins. Part of the fun is getting to see everyone with their liveries on. And part of the stress of running the stream is always hoping and praying that you install all of the skins correctly. And unbelievably, I've done it correctly today. I can feel my IQ growing. Pretty soon I'll be in double digits, I'm sure of it. And the Reds have entered the battle space. Let's see how things are going. It's the lead group of Bait and Revenge in their F-15s at 37,000 feet who have said, it's fight time. And if you guys are going to spend too long outside of the circle, well, you can just forfeit and we'll take it. IQ Cell's doing mitosis today? Yeah, mitosis. It's the powerhouse of the cell. I don't know, I didn't do science, I've got an arts degree. Let's be honest. Now, before anyone says that mitosis is when cells separate into two cells. I know. How do you think aeroplanes reproduce? You just give them enough fuel, and then they separate out into two separate, smaller, identical planes. That's how you build a new aircraft. And the battle area is contested, so it doesn't look like it'll go to forfeit. The distance between the two aircraft, 90 nautical miles. Listen, kids, if you're wondering how baby airplanes are made, just ask your parents about probe and drogue refueling. Mitosis is global warming? I think mitosis is the new Mazda that's coming out later this year. I don't know. I don't know much about cars. I mostly talk about airplanes. Alright, so we have FTQ beginning to accelerate in full burner and separating out into a combat stance. They are going to get ready to make their play. The JF-17s of the Southern Group have gained altitude and are now in burner, looking to make a play towards the center of the map. FTQ Bait is an F-15 Wizzo. No kidding. How cool. Well, Bait is probably in this plane thinking, man, where's the back seat? How am I supposed to lie down on that little bit at the back there? That's weird. I'm sure that when the F-15E comes out, Bait probably won't have to do the training missions, but who knows? The F-15 of Chesty coming along at an absolute rate of knots in the Southern Group, looking to intercept Breeze and Lasky down the bottom. Looks like ETF is sticking enthusiastically to a relatively central stance. Look at this separation. How far away are they from each other? 30 nautical miles, almost exactly. Absolutely immaculate planning here. If there's one thing that can be said about ETF, it's that they know what they're planning on doing. Meanwhile, this FTQ group here, this ramshackle collection of an F-16, an F-15, oh, two F-15, excuse me. So the Southern group of F-15s gets a little F-16 to come along with it, and the Northern group of F-15s gets the F-14 to come along with it. I reckon that's the right choice, with the F-15 being able to take advantage of this low terrain down here, and the F-14 being able to take advantage of potentially better BVR territory happening up the north. So that's the right move by any stretch of the imagination. I reckon it's only a matter of time before we see the first missile shots happening here, closing to about 34 nautical miles, probably not far enough for ECM to be burnt through. Now, with Chesty coming towards Breeze and Lasky in the south, 40 nautical miles, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not entirely sure that these are two separate aircraft, but it looks like Breeze and Lasky have decided that they would rather go low. This is interesting. They're preemptively starting to head down towards the mountains. This may be divide and conquer. In fact, ETF is all bunching up in the center as they prepare for the opening engagements. This is curious. I wonder what the plan is here. So we have the Northern group and Southern group beginning to converge here, potentially throwing a wrench into the plan of FTQ, who seem comfortable continuing with their north-south separation. Now, that's all well and good, but you do run a little bit of the risk of getting pincered here. But with that being said, they're separating back out again. Okay. Interesting, interesting. No launches just yet, with Bait and Revenge separating out and just continuing along this northern track. They may be attempting a northern flank to head around this east side and corner these guys in such a way that the F-14 can take advantage of them potentially being pushed north. First SD-10 out from Dormouse, launched at 35,000 feet towards Chesty at 40,000 feet, who is deciding that they do not want any of that action. This missile, with plenty of energy and altitude at 60,000 feet. An SD-10 launch from low altitude up towards Revenge, and an AIM-120 launch down from Revenge. This will be a tricky one. The AIM-120 is going at light speed, but not towards the correct target. This SD-10, has it got track? Oh! Looks like we had a little bit of desync there. The first kill as Revenge goes down. Bad luck. Now this AIM-120C is still going. Can there be some justice in this? JF-17 realizing the importance of throwing some shapes, but this missile has energy. 800 knots, 700 knots. I reckon it's been defeated. It'll take a big mistake here for this to connect. Unlucky. Yep, no dice. Alright. We have bait right in amongst it here. Going at light speed down towards the deck. An SD-10 from Dizzy launch. That'll be very difficult to evade. Nothing but throwing shapes can save you now. And throwing shapes bait may well be, but is it enough? That missile losing a lot of speed, having to climb to altitude. And I think that bait may have got away with that one. That's close. Chesty, an F-15, launching towards Breeze, potentially, receiving an SD-10 in response. This plan doesn't look like it's working the way that they wanted. And Phoenix launched from the F-14. This SD-10 heading up towards Chesty, who needs to be maneuvering harder than this. It still has speed. Chesty, please, come on. You're not going to do it twice. Come on, Chesty. Chesty. Countermeasures. No. Oh, bad luck. Okay, we have an AIM-120C launched from the F-15 towards Dormouse. It has good energy. We have another SD-10 towards bait from Electro Bull with Dizzy at bottom altitude. SD-10 is going to have the power. It's being pulled down into thick air, down low. An AIM-120C against Dormouse. Okay, I reckon that SD-10 is trashed. That AIM-54C, has it got track on anyone? I'm not entirely sure if it does. AIM-120Cs throughout the mountains with no speed. Not having a good time. The F-16 of BMD not getting involved in any meaningful way just yet. This looks like it's going to be a quick round. Well, it's not over yet. AIM-54, first one doesn't look like it has track of anything. Another SD-10 from Dizzy towards bait. Only trashing it in the ground cutter can save you. Bait launches an AIM-120. Bad luck. SD-10 against Cannibalistic Tomato. Has it got track? Looks like it's gone dumb. AIM-54, have you got any kind of track? No speed, no track. An SD-10 launched against the F-16 has a frustrating amount of weapons still on its wings. Guys have got their heads, have got their act together since the last round. Heads were going to roll. After that was, oh yeah, a bit of a tough show. Boy, oh boy. Well, it's not over yet. We have Venom at high altitude, making a play. We have BMD at middle altitude, still with all their weapons. An AIM-120C shot against Breeze, who's peeked out to take a shot against Venom. We'll see if Breeze gets away with that one. Plenty of mountains with which to lose the missile track with. An SD-10 from Dormouse against BMD, probably a little bit prospective as opposed to effective. Another SD-10. Bugger. Bugger, bugger, bugger. That is bad luck. The F-14, Cannibalistic Tomato in America, stuck with 3 JF-17s heading towards them. That is a tough, tough position to be in. As BMD, all alone and frightened, left with very little to do. FTQ have put in a lot of hard work, blood, sweat and tears throughout this situation, and they have done a wonderful showing of their ability. Already showing the kind of development that could take other teams years. SD-10 towards BMD in response to AIM-120 against Dormouse. I think at this point the gesture is largely symbolic. However, this AIM-120C has some speed. Don't feel as if either one of these missiles will necessarily connect, as both pilots are going cold. Cannibalistic Tomato in America probably feeling quite stressed at the moment. So AIM-120C is going to come close, but it's lost its speed and will not be able to climb. We have Nate Dogg, who's coming in at light speed. Another AIM-54 launched, this time presumably against Electro Bull. It would be nice to see at least one of these Phoenixes meet their mark. Electro Bull maneuvering hard, pulling the AIM-54 into the cooler, lower air. We have a JF-17. That explains why they haven't launched AMRAAMs, because they haven't got any AMRAAMs. This is going to be close and personal, with a JF-17 6 nautical miles behind the F-14. However, BMD is looking to make contact with Cannibalistic Tomato. We have another SD-10 heading towards BMD. Lots of evasion happening here. AIM-120C launched in response, but BMD appears to have got themselves into a very, very, very tight spot. Is this evadable? Jesus Christ. That is way too close. Okay, you were lucky that that didn't connect. Okay, we have an AIM-120C against Lasky. Does it have any kind of track? I wouldn't say it does. These JF-17s. We have Cannibalistic Tomato just fleeing for the border. Heading north. Desperately trying to evade the JF-17 that is directly behind. Well and truly behind the sound barrier, I think. I think that we see ETF coming in for a kill here. Can BMD get as lucky as they did twice? This is going to be very, very hard to evade. and the ground clutter save you twice? Chaff? You got any chaff left? No. Another evasion. These SD-10s are taking the ground clutter for a ride. What about this? BMD going to make it... Oh, that's stressful. That is stressful. Check your mirrors, there's a missile. Okay. Oh, we had Nate Dogg take down the F-14 while we were checking out on those missiles. We'll check it on the TAC view. But this is looking like it's about to be all over. With no AMRAAMs left. This F-16 is very alone, very stressed. And not necessarily in what I would call a winning situation. As you can see, tiny specks on the horizon representing hostile JF-17s looking to cause trouble. Yeah, you got flares. Oh, aimed on him, off the rail. Oh, there's a merge. Come on, let them fight it out. Give them guns. Let them do it. Let them do it. Come on, please. If BMD got a guns kill here, I'd be so happy for him. Them. Oh, man. But will they get the chance? This is like a fight circle happening here. The JF-17s have said, can we let them have a gunfight? Please. Oh, PL5? No. Bad luck, BMD. That was some good flying. Bad luck. Oh well. Looks like it falls on FTQ to gather themselves up. Alright. So, just give me 1 second. Let's see if we can have a chat with someone from FTQ to congratulate them on their magnificent improvement. Good fight to everyone involved. That was terrific. If anyone from FTQ is available, I would love to have the chance to have a chat. Let's see what eventually got in. PL5. Nate Dogg wanted to convert this into a kill. And that was just tough going. You guys are monsters with those defenses. I mean... yeah. Check out Breeze and this AIM-120C, which within rights has all the energy in the world, but full of few S-turns. BMD did a great job of getting themselves evasive. I mean, BMD, this was insane. I cannot believe that this didn't connect. This is just SD-10s getting lost in the ground clutter. Thank you, AlphaGator. Much appreciated. Thank you all for being here. Of course, we still have to wait for ETF to make their way back home and land. So we'll give it a bit of time, but we'll see if anyone from Anyone from FTQ? Cool. Looks like we might be getting revenge. So it looked like it was a good plan at the start, but things went a little bit pear-shaped. I loved this this maneuvering that was happening up the north. In the SATAC Discord, if that's okay, Revenge, there's the voice channels there, and I'll have a chat to you there. Oh, hey, you're here.
Yes.
How are you going? In fact, I'm going to take the liberty of talking first. I had the pleasure of casting your first match against the Alamo Aggressors, in which we all agreed that that was a tough one. And you guys, I've been told, have come away from that and done some hard training and come back almost unrecognizable from the team that went up against Alamo and put on a really, really good showing. How are you feeling?
Thank you. We're feeling pretty good. I think, you know, that first match, we just weren't prepped. Again, jamming changes everything, and after getting smacked out of the air, we figured out some other issues that were going on. For instance, that 14, although his jammer was on, he never warmed it up. For some reason, even the reel was like, I did not know we need to warm it up for 5 minutes. So we did some hard, steady, deep. We knew we were going against ETF, who's a phenomenal team, one of the best in DCS comp there is. We know what they fly, and so we went off of the information we had and formed a game plan for it. And I think it just goes to show that I promise we don't fly like we did in the first match all the time. We can fly.
Well, you guys put on. I think you're selling yourselves short. I think in the first match, you guys fought incredibly hard, and if you watch the stream afterwards, you'll check out some of the missile dodges that were pulled off there were just phenomenal. There were some really, really close calls, and I think if you have a look afterwards, you'll witness some incredible flying. And I think you ought to give each other some good credit for all of that. Remind me, is this the same lineup of planes that you brought against Alamo?
No, not at all.
What did you bring last time? It was it didn't have the F-15s, did it?
No, it didn't have the 15s. If we did, now I'm having a hard time remembering. If we did have 15s, it wasn't this many. We brought, I think, twin ship 18s, twin ship one Su-33, one 14, and then the last two I think were 16s. So
yeah, that
lineup.
sounds about similar. How'd the plane change feel? Was the F-15 a natural platform for some of your pilots?
Yeah, a good chunk of us love the 15, and I will tell you right now, probably I'm not even exaggerating, probably close to 99% of my squadron is going to the 15E when it drops. So a bunch of us have flown the 15, we love the 15. You know, FC3, you know, you don't have the button smashes, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to shoot dots out of the sky. So I've flown the 15 quite a bit. I try to get the people who've flown it the most. We've had some member issues as well. One member hurt himself, so I had to sub in another guy who's brand new to our squadron.
Oh, no!
Just trying to you know, get the best I can, and with people who've been showing up and practicing for it in there.
Yes,
so.
and Chesty in chat is making a valid point that in terms of the matchups that you guys got in the groups, gosh, what a tough show that you guys had for a baptism by fire within the competitive DCS space. But as the match progressed, I think everyone was saying. In fact, I remember reading that someone was like, "Oh gosh, I wish we could watch these guys fight Alamo again because it would go completely differently." It's clear that you came away from it with some good lessons learnt and very much transformed yourselves for this battle, and it did a great effort. If you were to approach it differently, especially in that second round, because it felt like there was a plan, but it kind of fell apart, what do you think you would go about differently?
I love the 15 and its platform. The Jeff is just kind of... We had a couple things that happened. One, we had a desync in the first, so AIM-54s were not lofting. Second round, they performed 50% better, but I kind of think we're gonna have to reassess the Tomcat. We were mainly using him as a GCI, the Rio in the back, and making sure he was taking shots that were pitbull so that he can defend immediately, and
Yeah.
GCI can go back to GCI things. I think that's a solid plan, but it's hard to say. I think we were mainly setting ourselves up around the Jeff and the SE10, so this entire plan was just painted around that specific platform. So I think we're just gonna have to reassess how it does against other airframes and reassess the 14 overall. I love the 14. I do love the Phoenix. It just doesn't quite sit right.
No,
My boys really just need like some more seat time for the SA with the 15. That's just kind of part of it.
yeah, in the first round there was a frustrating moment where one of the F-15s was continuing along for a BVR attack. It didn't even notice that there was a JF-17 coming up straight from underneath it, and delivered a PL-5 right up the middle. It's quite a troublesome, because for people who don't know, the F-15s don't have any kind of data link like the Su-27s do, or the Jeffs in this instance either. So it can be quite tricky to just keep a mental image of what the battle space looks like. And it sounds like that was potentially what the 14 was trying to do, but not quite being able to in this situation. And definitely, especially with the recent changes to the missiles, the Phoenixes sometimes just, they don't feel like they're going anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is difficult. But
yeah,
certainly...
and the jamming environment is just also something that I have mixed feelings about. I'm one of those proponents for tournaments that I like to have everything available at hand, because for me, don't get me wrong, love merges, but it is, part of air combat is BVR, so I really like being able to use the 120s and the 9Xs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I would really like to be able to use jamming, but I also personally feel it's very simplified, and it just changed a lot of the dynamics for how we had to approach things, which is why we got cracked out in the first round just smacked over the head our first match.
Yeah.
I think we showed that we definitely can adapt, and we can do some analyzing and figure stuff out. I mean, we made like 3 sheets with different data on it. We're sad to be out of SATAC, but we'll be happy to watch the rest, and we're just going to focus on our other tournaments, and we'll hopefully see you guys next year, or second one for this year.
Oh, look, fabulous. You guys, if you continue on the rate of progression, I mean, the amount of personal development that happened over such a short period of time, if you guys manage to continue on that level of improvement, you'll be an absolute force to be reckoned with in no time at all. And everyone in chat, I know, is paying enormous compliments to you all for all of your hard work and improvement over the competition. So please, from me, please tell your teammates what a wonderful job that they did, and I cannot wait to see how you guys go in future competitions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my boys, they work hard. Every single one of them's been an asset to the team, and we will be back.
No worries. You want to give any shout-outs or say thank you to anyone?
I got a shout out to my Tomcat pilot. He's a really good guy. We had to adjust how he flies, and we got him a Rio. He does a really good job.
This is Cannibalistic Tomato.
All my team members, yeah, Tomato. Yeah, he's our 14 pilot. He's hell in emerge. He's really good in emerge. We had to teach him BVR. He's done a really good job. He went to the support role in the 14, and hell, he even got merged in this one. So, but shout out to the entire team. They do really well, and. Shout out to SPQR for helping us practice, and for the boys over there in ETF and Alamo for showing up for the matches and being patient. We do have, like, every time it feels like we have issues with SRS or something, so we always take long, I feel like. But yeah, thank you guys. Thanks SATAC as well, and you guys have a good one. No worries at all. All right, well, thank you very much. I might leave you to it, and I might talk to Breeze in a minute. All right, have a good one. Thanks, Revenge. Well, that was FTQ Revenge, thanking all of his teammates, and congratulations on the Jeff. Well done. I can see you're in here, Breeze, but I might wait until you land just before having a banter. But we'll wait for ETF to make their way down to the runway. The Chesty says,
The F-14's primary mission was to provide SA calls to the Southern Group in Round 2, when you were going in that the Phoenix was in a bad state, particularly against jammers. Yeah. No, it definitely felt like the Phoenix didn't have the legs that it wanted to have. So it was a difficult matchup, and once dragged into that thick air down below, they just lose their momentum, and they don't have anything left to give sometimes. So we'll see. Who knows? ED might come along with a patch sometime soon, and we might see the environment for BVR missiles change dramatically. And as we watch Breeze come in for a landing, the JF-17 looking good, feeling good. Not a missile left on those pylons. Such a showman. I know. Rolling all over the bloody place. That's just the Jeff. He's a silly boy. The Jeff's a silly boy. And we got my favourite, the parachute, and the parachute's gone. And that is ETF with the win. Alright. Well, Breeze, feel free to unmute whenever you like. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Sorry, you're a bit quiet for me. I'll just see if I can turn you up. Still a little bit quiet. Sorry. I'll just mute DCS here. Can you just say something for me, mate?
Hello.
Hey, Breeze.
Hello. What's up?
Yeah, not too much. I'm going to have to turn you way up here. I'm not sure. It's probably on my end. Sorry about that.
No problem. I got a lot of complaints about being quiet.
Okay, are you guys able to hear Breeze here? Okay. So, how you feeling?
Feeling good. It's you know, it's tough. Both the teams we played were actually pretty good. We expected it though. We knew that they were gonna improve from their last match. You know, they looking at what they did last time and then trying to take that and then go into this, and then they don't do the same thing. It was a little bit strange at the beginning when we saw the 4 Eagles. We're like, wait a minute, this ain't what they did last time. But
Yeah.
adapted as usual.
And as a squadron entirely of JF-17s, you brought along your jamming pods this time. Did the plan play out pretty much how you expected, or?
Yeah, I mean, it played out as expected. It's not really a complicated plan at all. It's something simple. That means it's replicable. You can do it consistently. You know, I think the plan is always similar. It's to play a smart game, you know, think about maneuvers and not just, you know, go out there and fly. We were very coordinated with each other, data link wise, airplane wise. Like we're really coordinated in terms of comms. We make sure we know every single person knows where every other person is on the map, and we know what their intentions are, and you know, we just play super together. We're always playing together.
Absolutely.
Never a solo plays. Everything happens. It happens as a team. We make sure everyone knows and the maneuvers we do.
Yes, and it was interesting watching through both the matches, seeing basically the same separation of a two pairs heading off, being trailed by a third. What's the role of the third that's following on below? Is that just to follow up, or is that cover for the two leading planes, or?
Yeah, it's a bit more about the cover. I think his position is in a place where we can really do many things with this strategy on the go. We don't really, no matter what the other team flies, no matter how they're flying, we can always adapt this to that. We never get caught off guard. We, you know, sometimes it does happen where it's like this team is doing something that's way different. I think the Eagle meta was very like it was used like a lot back in 2021
Mm-hmm.
by a lot of teams, but it really went away. It went away because a lot of the Eagles things were figured out. So it took me a little while where I was like, oh, Eagles, haven't seen that in 2 years. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was like, okay, we got to go a little bit back. We're doing a strategy that wasn't made for an airplane that was flown 2 years ago, but now we have this newer strategy for this newer meta that has to adapt to these airplanes that have come back from the grave, because nobody really flew Eagles anymore, I think. But we were ready after the Alamo match. We were like, okay, Eagles are gonna fly high and fast. That's fine. We just
Yeah.
will take the camera. They can't shoot. They they can't last in a fight for more than 10 minutes. They only have 4 AMRAAMs. They love lofting beyond like 20 miles. You can just stay back with SATAC having these big bubbles. You can just literally sit back and drain those AMRAAMs, drain them out of fuel, and then press hard later. It's such a simple way to defeat the Eagle. But if one or two of your own guys gets caught out, then it doesn't become so simple. Then it becomes strange. That's something that we didn't plan for in round one. Two people got caught off guard again. It's like out of nowhere, and I was like, "Well, okay, that guy's dead. Oh, okay, that guy's dead." So I was like, "Okay, now what do we do?"
Yeah. And in that
So
first round, it felt as if there was a little bit of catching off guard that happened with I think there was two planes that got lost in fairly close in fighting. When it comes to the JF-17, I must admit it's not an airframe that I've flown as much as of the other ones myself. I always associate it with not having as much fuel as I want it to have, and not having as many pylons as I want it to have. When it comes to strengths and weaknesses, if you had to say one thing that the Jeff excels at and one thing that it's not the best at, what would you say?
data link, knowing where everyone is. Like we just knew. When I was in round two, when I was pushing reload really close, I had perfect idea of where they were. My AWACS didn't see me. Their AWACS didn't see me. I made sure they knew that. My friends knew that, and they flew at an altitude where they could see the entire enemy line. I could see their entire team without them actually being able to see me. They saw me glimpses. I know that when I had nose, when I didn't. So they saw me, then they didn't see me, then they saw me. I don't know, maybe it was different, but I saw their entire team as I was pushing in very comfortably, and I felt so comfortable where it was like, okay, I'm pushing this team, these three bandits all alone, and I have exact idea of where every single one of them are. You know, like to be able to counter that in a match. The aircraft is really fuel efficient as well. Like I ran out of fuel because I made some mistakes in round one.
Right, yes.
At the end there, I flew really low, knowing that I wasn't gonna make it back. At that point, it was like we
Yeah.
lost two people. We we don't really have any options now. I just gotta kill them, or I gotta drain missiles from them to help my teammates. So I just went really low, pushed in as hard as I could. The Eagle fired two MRAMs at me there at the end.
Yeah.
So I basically made this guy useless at the end, and then my teammates had a perfect kill on him. So,
Yes. And was the abs and in terms of weaknesses, is there anything that the JF-17 feels like it struggles with?
my bias answer would be no, but to be realistic, I'd say speed. You know, when we got to the bubble, we were slightly below them, so we have to work a little bit off the back foot of the initial because we're just slower.
Yeah,
Once the fight starts going, that doesn't matter as much. But if you're worried about positioning and stuff like that, then that like little bit of like it's not a little bit, it's like half a Mach difference in speed with like an F16. F16 is cruising at Mach 1.5. We're cruising in there at Mach 0.98, 0.97. So that is you know, we were behind them a lot from
sure.
bullseye. Like
Absolutely.
that is one thing.
Oh, well. And of course, we had the absence of Riker here, who I'm led to believe is a fairly core member. But you flew very well with your lineup. How many pilots have you got in the wings?
We have 9. Gonna be 10 soon.
Okay.
But, the thing is, we have a pretty straightforward initial lineup because like me and Riker fly a lot together. So we're really based on coordination. As soon as that coordination or that team synergy is a better word goes down, we really struggle a lot. And even in the Alamo game, we had problems with team synergy. We had some situations where it's like I don't know what my teammate is doing, like I don't know what's going on here, and that ended up getting not only that guy killed but me as well. So like there was some really weird scenarios in that Alamo game. As soon as we're fine on that, then we're fine. You can prepare as much in a match. In ETF, you can prepare so much for a match, but as on the day, if those people aren't feeling good and they're not feeling like perfect, it can cause problems for us, like heavy problems for us. We have
Absolutely.
to make sure that each of the members is feeling good and you know.
Well, that's a good point. And it's interesting to hear how much of a focus it forms is the need of of soft factors in terms of training, in terms of comfort and synergy and getting along. It sounds like all of you guys get along fantastically. And
Yeah, we do. We're talking about TVs, toasters, and random things while we're ingressing just to keep ourselves like happy and calm.
Yeah.
It's very important for them to be calm, relaxed, and be focused. If they're not, then it can be a problem. Because against really really good teams, you're talking like Harpy and whatnot. You can't beat them based on just raw skill. You're not just gonna 1v1 them, 1v6 them. It's not gonna happen.
Yep.
You have to beat them with strategy. You gotta use your brain. You gotta think, and you gotta find weaknesses. You gotta find areas where you can take advantage of. That's the only way to beat a really top team. You cannot beat them just 1-to-1. 1-to-1, you're not gonna do that.
Yes. Well, finally, of course, you're up against FTQ. FTQ had a bit of a tough lineup in the groups. They're a very, very new team. Have you got any parting words for FTQ?
Yeah, I know Revenge really well. He's a funny guy. I've played with him a lot in the PG ops. I remember him from there. Yeah, he's a good guy. I think they're under the right leadership. They just got to continue. I think they're pretty new. I haven't seen them. This is the first time we played them ever. Uh, I've seen them in SATAC a little bit, but this is really the first time we played them. I think they're going to continue. If they just take this experience, getting a really hard group in your first tournament is probably a good thing. Learning from it, you can learn a lot from that and take it on to the next one. When we were in our first tournaments, we got whooped way harder than this. Trust me, it was worse. It
Yeah,
was way
absolutely.
worse.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me as the last of your teammates lands on the runway, securing the win for you all. Congratulations on your victory for this match, and very well flown. Thank you for being a part of the competition. Pass my congratulations on to the rest of your teammates, and I look forward to you seeing what you guys get up to in the matches to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll see you guys in playoffs. We have some things in store.
That sounds like a threat. Thanks, Breeze.
Thank you. See ya.
All right, guys. With the entirety of ETF on the ground, that is the closing point for my coverage of this round of SATAC. We'll look forward to the matches that are yet to come. Now, I think that we might have some combat left to go. I think Nuff Butter is still running. So, I'm going to hand you over to Nuff Butter, who is doing the rest of the other match that may still be going. Looks like it may be coming to close off the stream. Thank you guys all for the follows. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for everything that happened in the background. I hope that you all enjoyed yourselves very much. And of course, I will let you guys know when the next matches are happening. Alright, team. Please take good care of yourselves and look after one another. Please congratulate all of the participants of SATAC. And I look forward to seeing you in the matches to come. Thank you.